This is a book called President Donald J. Trump, the Son of Man, the Christ. Now, somebody sent me a picture of this book at a Trump rally a while back. Apparently, the guy who wrote it, Helgard Muller, has been going to Trump rallies, passing a copy of his book out to everybody. Let me give you an idea of the premise of the argument here. In the Bible, there are two messianic roles. There's a Son of God and the Son of Man. The Son of God was obviously fulfilled by Jesus. He came to earth, died for your sins, and all of that other good stuff, right? The Son of Man is referred to in the Bible in a number of Old Testament books. The book of Daniel, I think, mentions the Son of Man, the book of Ezekiel, and some others. The Son of Man is supposed to be like a cosmic judge who comes along at the end, sparks Armageddon into existence, and judges all of the good people and the bad people, basically. The assumption is that Jesus is going to come back a second time, take control of the Israeli political system. That's why Israel needs to exist as a nation before Jesus could come back, because that's one of the requirements for the Son of Man, for somebody to be the Son of Man, and then spark Armageddon into place. That's the belief among standard Christianity. This guy's argument, Helgard Muller, is that America is the new Israel, that the founding fathers were descendants of the original Jews that came up through the Caucasus Mountains or whatever else. Complete nonsense, just totally made up. And that Trump took control of the political system in New Israel, which made him the Son of Man. So that is their argument for Trump being the second coming of Jesus. That's what this book is all about, so I wanted to give it a read. We've been reading it already. If you haven't seen the previous parts, don't sweat it. You don't have to see the others to understand what's happening in the current chapter. Do not believe literally a single fact, a single statistic, a single word out of this guy's mouth, just based on what I've already read. Even the most basic facts, like the names of political parties or the translation of words, are wrong. He lies about them constantly. So before you believe a single thing out of this book, make sure you fact check it. And one more thing before we actually get into the book. Some of it can be pretty graphic. The guy is a rabid racist, does not like the black community, grew up in South Africa during the period of segregation called apartheid, and is very obviously an extremely hateful person. So just be aware of that before walking into the book. Without further ado, let's get into it. This is chapter 31 of the book Donald John Trump, the Son of Man, the Christ. Title is President Donald John Trump and the Third Day. Let's see if this one has any Wikipedia plagiarism. By the by, I actually looked through some of the articles that were straight up plagiarized by this guy from Wikipedia, and I tried to find some of the editors that actually wrote it, because apparently they have standing to sue the guy for basically every penny he's worth. If we could contact the editors on Wikipedia, we could get a lawsuit started. I know for a fact he plagiarized at least from Alphabet Inc. Wikipedia page, the Mark Zuckerberg Wikipedia page, the page for the name Donald and the definition and etymology and everything else. At least those three. There were some others, but I would love to find the editors from those three and communicate with them and see if we can get something going. Anyway, yeah, let's see if he plagiarizes from Wikipedia some more in this chapter. The 2020 United States elections were held on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020. Tuesday is the third day of the week, even though we all like to think of it as the second. Tuesday gets its name from the Anglo-Saxons god of war Tu, also known as Tyr to the Vikings. Is this true? I've already said this, but don't believe a word out of the guy's mouth. I thought it was from Thor. Maybe I'm wrong. The Romans named their third day of the week after their god of war, Mars. Former Vice President Joe Biden, D, I don't know why there's a D in parentheses there, stole the presidential election on November 3rd, 2020. No, he didn't. There was no evidence of systemic voter fraud. Certainly not enough to have changed the result of the election. If there was any evidence whatsoever that the election had been stolen or that there's enough fraud to overturn the election or whatever, we would be in a very different situation. We'd be having a different conversation right now. It's not there. Biden received 306 electoral votes and President Donald Trump, R, received 232 electoral votes. In the national popular vote, Biden received 81.2 million votes and Trump received 74.2 million votes. Yeah, I think that's accurate, actually, those numbers, 81.2 million and all that. The Jewish media, oh my God, here we go again. The Jewish media, the liberals, the Democrats crucified President Donald Trump on the third day of November 2020, also the third day of the week, which is Tuesday. Crucified is in quotes and italics, and so is third day, except they're in single quotes. Like you got the double quotes for crucified and single quotes for third day. That's weird. I wonder why. Poor editing or what? I don't know. There are many names and concepts in biblical gematria that are mathematically palindromatic and thus reflective of the initial verse of the sacred work. Oh, wow. We're getting complicated here. Let me explain what all of that means. A palindrome, I believe, is a word that means the same thing backward and forward. So the word level, for example, if you spell it backwards, it's still the word level. Let's look at the definition. A word, phrase, or sequence that reads the same backward as forward. Example, madam, or nurses run. Interesting. Yeah, level is another good example. Anyways, that's what a palindrome is. Now, he used the term here, gematria. Gematria is a really popular, I don't know what to call it. It's a thing that people did in ancient Jewish culture, and they still do it to some degree, Jews do, where you come up with a phrase and you assign numbers to letters. So A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3, so on and so forth, all the way to Z equals 26. And you assign numbers to those letters, and you take a phrase or a word or whatever, and you add those numbers up. And whatever number you end up with has some special meaning. Now, this only really works with the Hebrew language, because Hebrew was, in the eyes of the Jews, the first language and the only holy language, and every other language came to be after Hebrew existed. So Jews are really the only ones that can use it, because Hebrew is the only one that it really applies to. And also in Hebrew, it's not like the first letter is 1, the second one is 2, so on and so forth. It's more like 1 to 9 is 1 to 9, and then the 10th letter stands for 10. The 11th letter stands for 20. The 12th letter stands for 30. And it kind of goes about like that. And it was a cute thing you'd use to, like a bar mitzvah boy, get like a moral phrase. And it was like a riddle or a puzzle that you put together. On one side is one set of numbers or letters, and on the other is the other one, and you have to kind of work it out. It wasn't used to prophesy the way that QAnon uses it to prophesy. So there's a little background on what gematria is. Let's keep reading. The number 232 is palindromic. For some reason, I thought it would be palindromatic, but okay. Is palindromic and displays the word of the Lord, quote unquote, word of the Lord. This phrase is repeated again and again all throughout the Old Testament by prophet after prophet, each of which were separated by both land and people and centuries of time. So it's showing some Hebrew here with some numbers and then word of the Lord on the other side. Okay. Not only is this another palindromic number, but it also accords itself with the very first words of God from Genesis 1:3, let there be light. Okay, so let there be light and word of the Lord, if you add the corresponding numbers up for all of the letters, equal the same number. That's what he's saying. I don't know why that matters at all, but okay. Thus, it is no coincidence that President Donald Trump R. Why does he keep putting R next to Trump, as if we don't know he's a Republican? The Son of Man received 232 electoral votes on November 3rd, 2020. For the biblical gematria for the number 232 displays the word of the Lord and let there be light. Well, it could be anything. Like, any of those things could match up. It wouldn't mean that Trump is the Son of Man. This is insane. On the third day, Jesus' resurrection is made all the more paramount. It is the climactic day of God's project of new life and covenant, beautifully pictured since creation, the finale of which will result in the future resurrection of Jesus' followers and the restoration of the whole universe. The Bible does not explicitly state on which day of the week Jesus was crucified. The two most widely held views are Friday and Wednesday. Why are those the most widely held? I've never heard that before. Where did he hear this? Where did he come up with this idea? There are no scholars on planet Earth that would attest to the idea that Jesus was either crucified on a Friday or a Wednesday, because there's no evidence of either of those things. Could have just as easily been a Tuesday. or a Monday, or a Sunday. Well, maybe not Sunday. That's a unique one. But the point is there's no way to know. Some, however, using a synthesis of both the Friday and Wednesday arguments, argue for Thursday as the day. There are no arguments for any of these because there's not solid evidence that Jesus even existed as a person in the first place. There is so little evidence of any of this, they couldn't possibly purport to know anything like that. They don't even know what day the guy was born. Jesus spoke about 2 different killings in the 4 Gospels of the New Testament. People read these scriptures and are unaware that Jesus, the Son of God, predicted his own killing in the first person, according to Matthew 16, as opposed to the several prophecies that he made in respects to the Son of Man, who will be crucified, according to Matthew 17. Okay. Both sons raised on the 3rd day. I'm so lost. Jesus referred to the Son of Man's crucifixion in the 3rd person in these mentioned scriptures, and that the Son of Man shall be delivered to the Gentiles to mock and to scourge and to crucify him, whereas Jesus, the Son of God, will suffer many things of the elders and chief priests and scribes and be killed. So what he's doing here is trying to establish the premise that Jesus didn't believe himself to be the Son of Man. That's debatable. Jesus does refer to himself as the Son of Man in the 3rd person, kind of in a coy way, because he knew it was blasphemous, deeply blasphemous, to call yourself the Messiah. So he never actually came out and said, I am the Messiah. He kind of hinted around at it and poked people and questioned them and said, who do you think the Son of Man is? That kind of thing. Have you ever noticed that the Son of God will be killed and the Son of Man shall be crucified according to the scriptures? Aren't they the same thing? Isn't crucifixion basically just a killing? And that there was a switch at the very end, a switch between these 2 sons' deaths? The switch came when Jesus, the Son of God, was crucified and died in the place of the Son of Man according to Matthew 26. That was the switch in the scriptures when Jesus, the Son of God, was crucified and died for President Donald J. Trump, the Son of Man. Alrighty. It makes one wonder what kind of play these 2 sons knowingly or unknowingly are performing. No matter how you look at it, President Trump is a god that came back to Earth to take possession what belongs... Okay, I'm just going to read it right as he says it. To take possession what belongs to him, and he awaits God to come and stand on his left hand to defeat his enemies according to all the scriptures. Are you fully aware of the characteristics of the Son of Man which Jesus described in the 4 Gospels of the New Testament? Wow. I think a lot of the editing errors that we find in here, I honestly believe that they're there because he tried to set up this weird code for this book. He wants it to have like a weird gematria value or whatever. That's my opinion. I really think he's doing it that way on purpose. Maybe not all of them, but at least some of the errors are intentional. President Donald John Trump and Judas, Chapter 32. Trump supporters are casting Mike Pence as a modern-day Judas. One word, modern day. No result in the English dictionary. After declaring Joe Biden, the winner of the 2020 election, many Christians around the world have compared Pence to the Bible's most infamous, figure, Judas Iscariot. Why did he put so many commas in, and not even in the correct places? The word pence, in quotes, is a plural of penny, used in referring to a sum of money rather than to the coins themselves, often used in combination. The name Michael, or Mike, is of Hebrew origin and means who is like God, or gift from God. It is found in the Old Testament, notably in the book of Daniel. Gender, Michael is historically the masculine form of the name. Dude, I bet this is, once again, another direct plagiarism from Wikipedia. Let's see. How did I know? It is a direct plagiarism from Wikipedia, once again. Michael is usually masculine given name derived from the Hebrew phrase blah, 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 who is like El. The theophoric is a rhetorical question, who is like the Hebrew god El, whose answer is there is none like El, or there is none as famous and powerful as God. The question is known in Latin as qui ut du. Although sometimes considered erroneous, the alternative spelling of the name is Michael. While Michael is most often a masculine name, it is also given to women, blah, blah, blah. I guess maybe it's not directly plagiarized, I suppose. He probably pulled it from Wikipedia, though. But he's most definitely directly plagiarized stuff. Maybe not this one. The name Judas is a Greek rendering of the Hebrew name Judah, Hebrew for God is thanked, which is an extremely common name for Jewish men during the 1st century A.D. due to the renowned hero Judas Maccabee. I think that's how that name is pronounced. I could be wrong. I want to look this one up on Wikipedia too. Judas. Judas disambiguation. I don't know. Maybe there isn't an article on just plain Judas. Let me check Judas Iscariot, the article. No, I can't find it. Okay. Well, I don't know where he got this from, like what source he used here, but presumably wasn't Wikipedia this time. Mike Pence got his last name right as Judas, the one who betrayed President Donald Trump, the Son of Man. What? This sentence doesn't make sense. Judas had the Pence with him, just like Mike Pence. Vice President Mike Pence is also the snake in the famous snake poem, which President Donald Trump loves to recite. Mike Pence was the closest to Trump who bit President Trump. I don't understand any of this. This is total nonsense. While governor of Indiana, Vice President Mike Pence was known for keeping an open Bible on his desk. At the White House, he was the most senior member of the U.S. Cabinet's first scripture study group in at least 100 years. Yet, after declaring Joe Biden the winner of the 2020 election, the man widely considered to be President Donald Trump's most pious and devoted disciple is now being cast as the ultimate betrayer of the MAGA cause. The way that he frames this is just straight up disturbing and weird, seriously. Pence as a devoted disciple of Trump. Holy shit, dude. On January 6, 2021, with a single vote, Pence found himself at the center of a whirlwind of conspiracy theories that has only grown in intensity since that day's breach of the Capitol by an armed mob of Trump supporters. I'm surprised that he's saying this, armed mob of Trump supporters. That's accurate. They were. But most MAGA people won't admit that. Many of the narratives circulating online have cast him as the New Testament's most infamous figure. Wow, dude. So what is this book then? Would this book be considered the New Testament? Is the New Testament from the Bible actually considered like an Old Testament now or what? How weird, dude. Mike Pence is Judas. I said this as soon as I saw all the commotion taking place in Washington, D.C. on Newsmax television. Of course he watches Newsmax. Jesus, the Son of God, always gave reference in the four Gospels that the Son of Man will be betrayed by that man, according to Matthew 26. Jesus, the Son of God, was betrayed by Judas, but woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. Jesus never said, woe unto Judas by whom the Son of God or me is betrayed. Jesus spoke in the third person when he referred to the Son of Man, according to Matthew 26. Therefore, woe to Mike Pence or that man by whom President Donald J. Trump, the Son of Man, is betrayed. It would be better for him if he had not been born. That man, according to Matthew 26, was always Mike Pence. Mike Pence is that man who fulfilled the prophecy to betray the Son of Man, President Donald J. Trump, just as Judas betrayed Jesus, the Son of God. This dude is repeating himself nonstop. Holy shit. That Judas text is from Wikipedia, says Robert Adset. Oh, it's from the Judas Iscariot, Wikipedia page. How about that? Big surprise. I should be writing a list of Wikipedia pages that he plagiarizes from so that I can contact the editors. So I'll do more checking on this, and I'll have to contact all of the editors. See if we can do something with this. Anyway, okay, let's keep reading. Again, according to Matthew 26, it shows two different betrayals by two different traitors to two different sons. Okay. On January 6, President Trump urged supporters to march to the Capitol as he repeated his claims of voter fraud and called on Vice President Mike Pence, who would preside over a joint session of Congress certifying President-elect Joe Biden's Electoral College victory, to step in and reject the election results. Here are excerpts from Mr. Trump's remarks on January 6 based on the transcript from CQ Roll Call. All right, we're going to read this in a second, but let me tell you basically how this guy wrote the book. The guy sat down and started to write about how much he loves Donald Trump and just kind of let his fever dream flow right out of the pen. And when he ran out of things to say, he started padding it by inserting random Bible verses in and plagiarizing from Wikipedia. The end of this book is almost exclusively Bible verses and plagiarism from Wikipedia. That's almost all I can find in this book at this point. The first half of the book was mindless rambling, just pointless, nonstop, repetitive garbage. And the rest is just plagiarized from Wikipedia. It's insane. So now we're about to read, like, the quotation, I guess, Trump's remarks on January 6th. All of us here today do not want to see our election victory stolen by a bold and radical left Democrats. Is this a direct quote? By a bold and radical left Democrats, which is what they are doing and stolen by the fake news media. No commas in any of this. That is what they have done and what they are doing. We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved. Our country has had enough. We will not take it anymore. And that is what this is all about. And to use a favorite term that all of you people really came up with, we will stop the steal. Is this a real quote? I mean, I can see Trump speaking like this, but is it just me, or is this grammar worse than usual? I hope Mike is going to do the right thing. I hope so. I hope so, because if Mike Pence does the right thing, we win the election. States want to re-vote. The states got defrauded. They were given false information. They voted on it. Now they want to recertify. They want it back. All Vice President Pence has to do is send it back to the states to recertify, and we become president. And you are the happiest people. For years, Democrats have gotten away with election fraud and weak Republicans. What? And that's what they are. There's so many weak Republicans. Are these real quotes? They might be. It just, wow, it's worse than usual, it seems. As soon as Judas, this is the end of the quotes. This is the guy talking again. As soon as Judas took the bait, or bread, Satan entered into him. So Jesus told him, what you are about to do quickly. Note what President Trump told Mike in the above speech, that he hopes Mike is going to do the right thing. The grammar on this is just absurd. When reading this transcript, you can clearly see it as the same storyline as Jesus with Judas Iscariot. Jesus said, I speak not of you all. I know whom I have chosen, but that the scripture may be fulfilled. He that eateth bread with me hath lifted up his heel against me. The same situation of an uproar happened at the capital of Jerusalem when Jesus, the Son of God, was betrayed by Judas and captured in the Garden of Gethsemane, whereas an uproar happened on the 6th of January 2021 in Washington, D.C. with Donald J. Trump, the Son of Man, and Mike Pence as the Judas. He's said this like 16 times already. Note that Jesus, the Son of God, said to the 11 disciples when Judas left the room, now is the Son of Man glorified, and God is glorified in him. Jesus never spoke in the first person and said, now I am glorified, and God is glorified in me. Jesus referred to the Son of Man in the third person. He did. Jesus did refer to the Son of Man in the third person because he wanted to play coy and beat around the bush and not come out and say it outright, because if he did, he knew that his time on earth would be over because they would crucify him for that. They got around to it anyways. Wow, dude. This whole book is like a massive fever dream. It's absolutely nuts. This is chapter 33. President Donald John Trump and the Insurrection Day. The Insurrection Day of President Donald Trump versus the Insurrection Day of Jesus! ! Was that a declarative statement? I don't understand what he's saying here. You've read it correctly. Jesus had also his Insurrection Day when he was captured. In, like, this dude at this point, 277 pages in, chapter 33, he's just given up. He's not even trying anymore. In Matthew 26:5 and Mark 14:2, they, the Jews, prevented an insurrection by not capturing Jesus on the feast day, but when he was captured and stood before Pilate, the insurrection took place, according to Matthew 27. When you read Matthew 27, you will see how the insurrection really took place. The chief priests, the Jews, stirred up the crowd, Mark 15, to release Barabbas and crucify Jesus. Or Barabbas, I think is how it's pronounced. Okay? None of this makes sense. I have no idea how this relates to absolutely anything at all. It's just complete nonsense. Insurrection is a noun that means an act or instance of rising in revolt, rebellion, or resistance against civil authority or an established government. I gotta look this one up. Let's check Wikipedia. I'm trying to find it on here, but I'm not seeing it specifically. This may have come from a dictionary rather than Wikipedia. I gotta stay vigilant. I gotta check this guy, make sure he's not plagiarizing because I've already caught him doing it like 16 times. The Jewish media and the leftists stirred up the crowd to certify President-elect Joe Biden's presidential win and to crucify President Donald Trump on January 6, 2021, just like with Jesus versus Barabbas, where the chief Jewish priests stirred up the crowd to have Pilate release Barabbas instead and to crucify Jesus. Right, so if I remember the story, Pilate didn't want to take Jesus out, so he gave the crowd the option of either letting Jesus go or letting this murderer go or thief, or I don't remember what he did. And the guy's name was Barabbas. And they said, no, we want Jesus dead. So they took Jesus out and crucified him rather than Barabbas. They let him free. Vice President Mike Pence, who is Judas Iscariot and sold out Trump, made Joe Biden's victory official early Thursday, the 7th of January 2021, despite mayhem. No comma here. There should be a comma here. He just kind of places commas wherever he wants. Like, there's no logic to it at all. The 7th of January 2021, despite mayhem at the Capitol that delayed proceedings. The 7th of January 2021, according to the Jewish calendar, is 23 Tevet 5781. On the 24th of Tevet, 3rd century BC, Jewish elders procured the translation of the Hebrew Bible into Greek, Septuagint, for Ptolemy II Philadelphus. All right. Don't know what that has to do with anything, but okay. Or if it's even true for that matter. Will the Jews translate the story of the gods correctly this time? Because the play of Christ and of the gods has been fulfilled again in front of their very own eyes, and they did not recognize the time when God visited them, the Jews and the demon-crats. Luke 19:44. Wow. This is seriously like a massive fever dream. This guy is unhinged from reality. That's the end of the chapter. The next one is 34. It's like at the very beginning, chapters were like a normal length. They're like an hour long to read. And now they're like literally a page long at most. Some of them. This is insane. Chapter 34, President Donald John Trump and the 2 impeachments. Let me know what you think about this in the comments if you want to read more of this stuff. I think it's absolutely fascinating.